think, to be honest, it was not only to serve an idea, that it was really to take advantage of for me and for my family.
Over the years, Round Square has grown from almost a handful of schools to being almost nearly 100 now. But in your time, how did you see the change?
The biggest change is, I'm sure, is the growing. And we all thought that this organization has to become bigger and bigger because of the quality of the ideas. And to find schools all over the world, not only in Europe or North America or India, but even in South Africa, because I know that some African schools, South African schools applied, but we were not prepared to take them because of apartheid, and because we had this Kenyan school, Staria Boy School, in. I think the biggest change is that it came from not very well organized organization. As I told you, it was more familiar, but it has to become a professional organization. So Jocelyn did it beside his other work, but then it was professionalized, and the organization has to become a professional organization with an executive director, which you are doing now, this job. And so I think it was right to give this to a professional educator who is engaged in, and who is able to manage such a big organization. The second thing was that we established a board of governors. Yeah? In the beginning it was a personal relationship, and the membership of Round Square Schools was not a membership of the school, but membership of the headmistresses and headmasters. And then it changed that nowadays it's a membership of the school represented by the headmaster. I think that this was a big change. So I don't know what is better, but I think really to continue the process of growing, the membership has to be transformed from personal membership to institutional membership to the schools. But I remember quite well that Roy McComish and Jocelyn and other people set up a sort of pilot project, and we were invited by an Indian school. I think it was Shomidas who said, yes, come please, and look for possibilities for projects in my country. So we started with a party of about 50 people, especially mainly from Europe, I think. And we spent 6 weeks in India. And we were invited by 2 schools. It was Lawrence School, Sanava, and Doon School. And then, so we learned first about these Indian schools, which was interesting. And then the students and staff from these Indian schools joined the party as interpreters and cooperators. And then we had a marvelous tour to Gorakhpur, which is in the north of India. I think it's in Himachal Pradesh. And we were invited by the district governors, and he showed us around several possibilities. So we came to the flooded areas, and we looked if it would be possible perhaps to help people in these urgent situations. But we learned that our ideas were really not fitting with the cultural traditions of Indian people living in those areas. Because, for example, we looked at a village was disappeared in the floods of the monsoon, and we proposed that it would be nice to rebuild this village, but not on the same place, but up in the mountains, perhaps 100 meters away, so that they were not affected in future by the floods. And so we talked to the regional people, and they really instructed us that it was unthinkable, because they have their traditions to be on their terrain, and that it's a holy place where they have to rebuild their house and even risk the danger of being flooded again the next year. So we learned a lot about cultural backgrounds and so on. Then I remember that we went to a village which was adopted by Dune School, and we tried there to make a drainage, because in the middle of this village was a pool of dirty water, and there has to be laid a drainage, and so we tried to do this, and we thought this perhaps would be a good project, especially in connection with the school. So what we learned was that good projects could happen in combination with round square schools in certain countries, but not without combination, not with cooperation. Yeah. So for me it was, and for the boys, I had one boy and one girl from my school, it was from Salem, and when I come back, or when we came back, we really were convinced that we should start projects in a big style. The next year there was this big earthquake in southern Italy, and when our head boy of our technical aid service, when he experienced how big it was and how terrible it was for the population of southern Italy, he phoned a father of two Salem students who was living in that area or close to that area, and he initiated a project helping in this earthquake with members of, or with participants of many schools of Round Square, and he really succeeded. It was a boy. I think he got a Record Hahn Prize 1 or 2 years later. And so I personally went to this project with our son, who was 15 years old in those times. And for me it was the best experience I ever had in my life as teacher or principal, because this cooperation of young people and old people in this town, for people who were who had need of relief, that was in the sense of Goetz really a special event, really, to bring us together. And I saw how engaged they were. It was not a work of 8 hours a day, but I think they worked about 12 hours a day. And we had lunch, short time, and dinner in the evening, and we talked about our experience, but it was really, I think it was worth to go there. And it was, you know that the first project started in 1950, in the 1950s, I think, when there was an earthquake in Catalonia. And I think the royal family of Greece, they were participant or initiator of this first project, which was long before Round Square was thought out.
I think King Constantine went on that project at Kefalonia. I stand to be corrected, but I think he was part of it.
Good, possible, yeah.
I've seen a photo of him and Kurt Hahn and 3 others.
So he was so old as our son Tobias when he joined us in Greece, in Italy. That's